Mrs. Freda Wolfe Elliott of Amity began teaching in the fall of 1924. She taught at 12 schools throughout Washington County through the spring of 1972, where she retired from Amity School. The following story was written by Freda Wolfe Elliott and was published in the book So Your Children Can Tell Their Children in the year 1976. This book was one of 52 volumes written by retired teachers of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. My first school was Archer's, Morris Township, Washington County, 1924 to 1926. It was a frame building, practically new, with a pot-bellied stove in the center and oil lamps that hung on both sides of each window. This school was located on a dirt road, which became muddy, an insurmountable problem for my Model T Ford. I parked at the end of the brick road where an 8th grade boy riding an old white horse would meet me. I rode behind him to the schoolhouse. The horse would go home by itself. After school, the boy's father brought the horse, and the boy would take me back to my car. The school was built on property belonging to a farmer. There was a sheep shed nearby, and the farmer, while tending the sheep, often watched us play ball. Ladies' dresses were then worn almost to the ankle. I always played with the children. This farmer went to the school director and told him that he had seen my knees while I was running. I didn't have to leave school, but the farmer took his boys out and sent them to another school the next year. Things are quite different today. There were 13 students in my first school, where I taught all 8 grades. There wasn't much competition. We were more like a big happy family. We gathered walnuts and butternuts, and when they were hauled and dried, we placed them in the cupboard to enjoy during the winter. We would bring popcorn to pop over the red-hot coals. Sometimes we would make ice cream. We had a box social to raise money to buy books for our library. We purchased a large, unabridged Webster's Dictionary and a number of other books. We were very proud of them. Not long after, someone broke into the school and took most of them. 2 years later, this school was closed, and the children were hauled in a 2-horse spring wagon to Dunn Station School in the same district. At that time, we didn't need physical education classes. Most of the children walked to school and had 1 hour for lunch and 15-minute recesses in the forenoon and during mid-afternoon. Every year we were allowed 2 half-days for walks, one in the spring and one in the fall. We would hunt for different flowers, birds, and trees. A course of study was sent each year from the county offices containing certain requirements. Then, once or twice a year, the county superintendent or one of his assistants would come to visit when least expected. In some of the school districts, some of the directors would stop in for a few minutes. 8th graders received the most attention because it was the teacher's responsibility to see that they were prepared for the high school entrance tests. The most enjoyable times of the year were Christmas and the closing day. At Christmas, we always had a program for the whole community. We practiced for days on recitations, plays, drills, and songs. I remember one Christmas in particular. We didn't have fancy balls and tinsel for our tree, so we made all of our decorations. The children brought cranberries and popcorn, and we strung long strings of each. We placed them on the tree the night before the program. The next morning the popcorn strings were gone. All we found were a few grains of corn and the string lying in the corner of the room by a mouse hole. The last day was the big basket picnic, when everyone stuffed himself and then put on a program in the afternoon. After the program, awards were given for perfect attendance, the highest grade in spelling, the most improvement in writing. Souvenirs were given to all the children. It was a joyous day for some, while tears of sadness were shed by others. Buildings today are much more elaborate. Now they have drinking fountains, which are more sanitary than the old tin cup or glass. The old buildings had wooden floors, which had to be oiled twice a year. A teacher can earn an additional $5 by cleaning her own building. She usually built her own fires and did the sweeping. The older boys carried the coal, a good excuse for getting out of school for a few extra minutes. If the teacher had a janitor, she paid for the service. So why did I choose to teach? From the time I was a child, I said I wanted to be a teacher. I used to play school with my dolls. my pet cat, and a collie. We had at least a dozen teachers on my mother's side of the family, and I think that is why I wanted to carry on the tradition.